When it comes to towing, seeing is believing. That's why Chevy Truck's advanced camera technology offers up to 8 available cameras for 14 unique views, so you can focus on the view that really matters. Chevrolet, together let's drive. Learn more about Chevy Trucks at Chevy.com. Safety or driver assistance features are no substitute for the driver's responsibility to operate the vehicle in a safe manner. Read the Vehicle Owner's Manual for important feature limitations and information.
This episode is brought to you by Experian. Are you paying for subscriptions you don't use but can't find the time or energy to cancel them? Experian could cancel unwanted subscriptions for you, saving you an average of $270 per year and plenty of time. Download the Experian app. Results will vary. Not all subscriptions are eligible. Savings are not guaranteed. Paid membership with connected payment account required.
It's time to get the world talking about Black-led brands. We all have our favorites, our ride or dies, and the ones we can count on to help us live out our best lives. But we can't keep them all to ourselves, so if you're feeling like Black Opal Beauty, tell somebody. If the lip bar gives you a lip for every drip, let them know. And if your hair is doing the do, shout that out too. Because one shout out leads to another, and almost half of Black-led brands are discovered by word of mouth. Join Walmart in shouting out your favorite Black-led products, creating a new world of choices at walmart.com/Black and Unlimited.
Thanks for choosing this free Anfield Index podcast. If you'd prefer to listen to this or any of our other shows without adverts, then now's the time to check out Anfield Index Pro. With AI Pro, you can supercharge your entire listening experience. You'll not only get all of our podcasts without the ads, but you'll have them far faster with our Quick Publish feature available exclusively for subscribers. AI Pro also puts you in the heart of our sound studio, with an option to listen to many of our shows live and interact with the podcasters in real time as the shows are recording. Upgrading couldn't be easier. AI Pro is available on all popular podcast platforms. Just head on over to AnfieldIndexPro.com and get started today.
Welcome to the Daily Red, your afternoon catch-up on all things Liverpool FC on a day in which Liverpool have completed a transfer. Lewis Koumas has gone on loan to Stoke City. It's a decent loan for him. Stoke are a big club. They've got Premier League infrastructure. They've got a good manager in Stephen Schumacher, who did a brilliant job at Plymouth, got them promoted from League One into the Championship, and then joined Stoke in December of last year. And I think this is a good move for Lewis Koumas. Now, whether he'll be a starter there or not is yet to be determined. I would imagine, as is the way with how we loan players, there is probably a clause in that loan where they have to play him a certain amount, or there will be financial penalties. So hopefully he goes there, does well, develops well, and then we can reassess next summer. My man Dave O.C. Kopp reporting yesterday, exclusive news, that Stefan Bajcetic has been told he can go on loan, or he should go on loan this season. I think that's also the right move. He's not close to ready for the first team at Liverpool, despite some people insisting that he be in the starting 11. A loan is what he needs, because he missed the better part of 18 months of play. Prior to the injury issues and then the growing pains and whatever else went on there, he had some good games, he had some bad games, but he looked like a kid who'd been thrown in to solve a problem that the management, through their lack of planning, had created. The team was all over the place. And yet, there were moments where he looked tremendous, but there were also moments where he looked completely lost. And it was obvious that he was quite a long way away from being ready to be a regular starter for a club like Liverpool with top four ambitions, with title ambitions, with Champions League ambitions. So him going on loan this season is probably best for him, because I genuinely don't think he was going to play a ton for us. At best, he was going to be the 5th or 6th midfielder. Him or Gravenberch would have been the 5th midfielder. And given Gravenberch is older, on bigger wages, and sort of in a prove-it season now, it would make more sense for him to play more. And also, as the Under Pressure and Fatigue Index podcasts have told you, when a player misses a significant length of time, the general rule of thumb is it takes them that long to get back to the level they were at prior to injury. And that level wasn't close to the level we require. So he wasn't going to play a lot. He wasn't going to be good enough this season for us, for what we need. So it makes sense for him to go somewhere and play regularly. And I'd imagine wherever we send him, there'll be agreements put in place. Like, this is the minimum amount he has to play. This is the maximum he's allowed play. He's not going to go somewhere and play 50 games. You know, if he can go somewhere and get 15 to 20 starts, another 10 to 15 sub-appearances, and come out with about 30 appearances in total, you know, somewhere in and around the 1,800-minute mark to 2,000-minute mark, that will benefit him a lot more than being at Liverpool on loan, sat in the stands a lot of weeks. Where he goes remains to be seen. I think the Championship would be a good proving ground for him. I know some people will say, oh, he's too good for that, but based on what? Based on what is he too good to go and play in the Championship? Like, we haven't seen him play a consistent long run of games. He had one spell in the team 18 months ago. The Championship is a really good level and could be very beneficial to him. There's a lot of good teams there. There's also a lot of games there. So even a team where he's not necessarily an automatic starter, he will get a lot of playing time. So the Championship could be good from, the Bundesliga could be good from, the French League could be good, the Portuguese League could be good, La Liga potentially. It would have to be, though, a top half, top 8 type of team. Like, you don't really want to send him to a team where he's going to be fighting for his life in a team that averages 35% possession. Now, there is some talk that he could go to Real Sociedad as part of this deal for Zubimendi. We'll see if that transpires. There's also some suggestion that maybe Tyler Morton could be included in that deal, and that would be a permanent move for Tyler. I think that one would make some sense. I'm not sure Besetic would make a ton of sense there on loan, because they've already got a bunch of midfielders and they will buy at least one. Pepelu of Valencia is being strongly linked with a move there now. He's more of a Mikel Moreno replacement, but they do have, like I mentioned yesterday, a number of midfielders that are potentially ready to step in, younger midfielders that they've been developing. So I don't know if a loan at Sociedad is going to be the right thing for him, because their manager might look at it and say, well, why am I going to develop him for Liverpool, who just took my best player, and they're going to take him back next season if he does really well, so I'm just going to leave him to rot. And they're not going to agree to any sort of terms where he has to play a minimum number of games, because they want to be in at least the Europa League and ideally the Champions League every year. That is now where they view themselves. So I don't know that Sociedad is the ideal move for him. But there's definitely teams in La Liga where he could benefit from a loan. I don't think I'd want to see him go to Serie A, because just the style of football is so different that I'm not sure it would benefit him as much. But there's a bunch of leagues and a bunch of teams where I think he could go and do really, really well for 12 months. And then we can reassess in 12 months. You could even loan him for 2 years. Given his age, given how long he missed, given the fact that we are in a pretty strong position in midfield once we get into the Mendy, and you could loan him for 2 years. And then a team has more security with him and they know they're going to have him for that longer stretch. And they'll be more willing to push him and get him the type of game time we're looking for him to get. And then in year 2 at that club, under the same manager, where he's not chopping and changing, where he doesn't have big upheaval each summer, potentially you up the minutes significantly to 25 to 2,800 minutes. And then he comes back to us in the summer of 2026. He'd be 21 by then. He'd have had 2 good seasons under his belt, all going well. and he would be ready to contribute for us. So I can definitely see a lot of logic in that. Apparently, Kate Gordon and Ben Doak also looking at loans. I again think that's good. I think, again, Championship for both would be beneficial. There's Premier League interest in Doak. I just don't see him as being anywhere close to Premier League ready. We know he can beat men for fun. We know he's got that explosive burst. He's got great acceleration. But he's got no end product, and he's got no clue. Like, he's still very much head down, just get past this fella and then try and figure it out. Premier League clubs are not going to play him if he doesn't offer anything beyond running quickly past somebody. So potentially a Championship move, I think, will be better for him as well. We are in the process of making our first... Well, we've sold Billy Kimetio. I think that's like a free or a minimal fee that he's gone to Dundee. But we are about to make our first significant sale of the summer, and Fabio Carvalho is leaving to go to Brentford. Paul Joyce reporting that the package is worth 27.5 million, inclusive of add-ons. So it's 20 million up front and 7.5 million in add-ons. Fulham will receive 20% of the profit above 5 million. So in the initial deal, that's a 15 million profit, which means they get 3 million. They get 1.5 million of the add-ons if they're all triggered. So Fulham at most would get 4.5 million, and we make a significant profit of 18 million on a player who, let's be honest, didn't really make an impact with us. He played 21 times in the 22-23 season. A lot of sub-appearances. Among that was loaned to Leipzig and then Hull last season. He looked decent in pre-season, and I did think that maybe we'd keep him, but clearly the decision was made, and probably with his input as well, that he would like to move on and go and play more regularly than what we could offer, because if we're being honest, he wasn't going to play a ton for us. He just wasn't. So it's the best move for everybody. We make a good profit. Player gets to go and play, and it's one less headache for Arne Slot to worry about. And that 20 million, potentially with another 20 million from Tyler Morton, if we can sell Nat Phillips in and around the 5 million mark, that's 45. Kelleher might still leave. I wouldn't be surprised at all if we get an offer for him in the last month of the window. There's still talk about Joe Gomez. There's obviously talk about Seb Vandenberg. Like, we're going to be bringing in a healthy amount through sales this summer and reducing what had become a bit of a bloated squad. Now, obviously not a Chelsea level bloated squad, but there was just a lot of players kind of on the fringes that had been on loan or were not contributing, and it doesn't make sense for us to have these players contracted to the club anymore. So moving them on and then getting these young players, Besetic, Pitaluga, Doak, Gordon, Ramsey, Chambers, Koumas, Dans when he comes back, probably gets a loan in January. Getting them out and getting them real experience is more beneficial to just having them at the club playing under 21s and maybe a cup match. And that was part of the poor squad management over the last few years. A lot of these players were not getting sufficient game time at a level that they required, but they were getting game time at a level they weren't ready for, weren't capable of playing at. Obviously, last season was a little bit different because we had so many injuries that there was a need to have some of them players in the first team. But again, most of them showed they weren't close to ready to play at a regular interval. So, yeah, all this is good. All this is very good. We are still obviously waiting on news regarding Martin Zubimendi, but given how quiet the Zubimendi deal was up until it was announced or it was reported the other day, and given that there was absolutely no mention of Brentford having interest in Fabio Carvalho up until it broke an hour ago that a deal had been agreed, it does show that we're very much working quietly, and it is likely that we do have a couple more irons in the fire. Would be no surprise at all if we have a move for a defender that is progressing. Because remember as well, it's not just Richard Hughes. Like, we brought Julian Ward back for a reason. Now, part of that reason, the biggest part, will be to work with the second club when they buy a second club. And part of Julian Ward will be overseeing that second club. But for now, there is no second club. So he is going to be working for us right now. So will the chap brought in for Benfica. So obviously will Michael Edwards. So we could have potentially 3 or 4 guys out there working on deals. Like at the moment, we basically have 4 sporting directors who are free to work on deals for us. Hughes, Edwards, Ward, and I cannot think of the Portuguese chap's name. They're all either technical directors or sporting directors across their careers. 3 of them have obviously been Liverpool sporting director, Edwards, Ward, and now Hughes. They're more than capable of going and negotiating deals, of working on things quietly. So I would imagine that potentially one of them is working on sales. One of them might be working on loans, although we did bring back the chap who worked under Ward, who was responsible for taking care of a lot of those loans. So he's probably working on that. We know Hughes is working on the Zubimendi deal. We don't know what Edwards is doing. Don't know what Ward is doing, but you can be guaranteed they're doing something. They're working on something. So when people say, oh, it's taken us forever to get deals done and we still need to do this, you had no idea that we were working on Zubimendi for 2 weeks before David Ornstein and Paul Joyce reported on it. No idea. None of us did. You had no idea that we were working on a deal to sell Fabio Carvalho to Brentford. None of us did. So what else don't we know? Probably quite a lot, which is good, which is really good. It's a really positive thing that the club are able to go about their business this quietly. And I see people getting, frustrated with the Zubimendi deal. Oh, it's taken forever. United today have agreed a deal with Bayern Munich for Matthias de Ligt, right? They're going to pay £43 million for Matthias de Ligt, plus add-ons. This is a player who obviously came through at Ajax and, let's be honest, looked absolutely sensational at Ajax. He went to Juve for 68 million in 2019. Was not particularly good for them in his 3 years there. Was sold at a significant loss to Bayern Munich. Was not particularly good there for 2 years and is now being sold at a significant loss. And United were looking to buy him before they moved for Lenny Yoro. So Lenny Yoro signed for them on the 18th of July. If I'm not mistaken, today is the 10th of August. United have been working on Matthias de Ligt for over a month and are only today getting the deal agreed. So this idea that our Zubimendi pursuit is taking an extraordinary length of time just isn't accurate. It's not true. I also saw people complaining that, oh, the owners are being cheap again. They're trying to negotiate a fee. What world do we live in? Most transfers are paid in installments over between 3 and 5 years. Like, over 90% of transfers are paid that way. So this is not something out of the ordinary that we're doing. This is not the owners being cheap. This is the owners trying to get the best terms possible. Not the owners even. The staff, the front office, Edwards, Hughes, trying to get the best terms possible for the financial health of the club. Realistically, if we're paying in installments, we're going to pay over the 51 million. That is his release clause. But we are prepared. All reporting says we are prepared to pay the release clause if we can't come to terms with Real Sociedad. So, what do people want? Do they want the club to just recklessly throw money down the drain when they don't have to? And bear in mind as well, when you're crying about us not signing whatever it is that you cry about come September, if we were to pay the 51 million in one lump, that would impact what else we could do. Like, let's take a look at United, just as an example, right? Always an example of a dreadfully run football club. So they're paying 52 million for Lenny Yoro. They paid 35 for Xerxes. And they're paying, I believe, in and around 60 million to Bayern for De Ligt and Mazraoui. Right? So what's that? That's about 150 million. They done anything else? I think that's it for the moment, isn't it? They signed any? I think that's about it for now. They'll probably do something else, but 150 million. Do you think they've just taken 150 million and lumped it out the window? No. They're paying it in installments. When they did the Xerxes deal, they agreed terms that meant they didn't pay the buyout of 34 million. They paid a little bit more because it allows them to pay less now. So they're not paying 150 million in one go. They're paying probably between 30 and 40 million this summer. That's probably what their spend is. Let's take us back to last summer, because you will have seen people on social media say things along the lines of, Liverpool had a smaller net spend in 22-23 than Burnley. Okay, that's a common one. That's one you see from the lunatic fringe. So let's consider that for a sec. Did Liverpool have a lower net spend in 22-23 than Burnley? So, sorry, it's 23-24. What am I talking about? 23-24, last season. So, we spent 35 million on Alexis, 60 million on Szoboszlai, just over 16 on Endo, and just over 34 on Gravenberch, giving us just over 145 million. We sold Fabinho for 40. We sold Henderson for an undisclosed fee. It was reported by some as 12. I'm led to believe it was actually about 4. But let's just go with 12. So that's about a 90 million net spend for us, right? If you don't understand transfers, it's about a 90 million net spend. Burnley, on the other hand, who'd just been promoted, by the way, spend an absolute ton of money, right? They bring in a bunch of players. Dara O'Shea, Jordan Beyer, Michael Obafemi, Zeki Amdouni, James Trafford, Luka Kolyashu, Sander Berg, Wilson Odebert, Hans Delqua, Aaron Ramsey. Yeah, that's the lot. So they're next, right, and they don't really have much going out in terms of sales. They sold Bobby Thomas to Coventry, and pretty much everyone else. Yeah, everyone else that was released was either out of contract and released, or had a year left and was let go on a free. So their net spend was probably about 110 million, right? But here's the thing. Their actual spend last summer, just on transfers, was probably in the region of 25 to 30 million of an outgoing. We paid a release clause on Szoboszlai of 60 million. All of that was paid in one go. So our actual transfer net spend was higher than theirs. But let's take it back from there. Look at the players they've signed. O'Shea from West Brom, Bayer from Mönchengladbach, who'd been on loan there the previous year, Obafemi from Swansea, Amdouni from Basel, Trafford from City's Academy, Kolyashu from Espanyol, Sanderberg from Sheffield United, he'd been in the Championship the year before, Wilson Odebert from Troyes, Hans Delacroix from Anderlecht, Aaron Ramsey from the Villa Academy. Young players mostly, or players that have been in the Championship the year before. Not players coming in on significant wages at all. Whereas we gave sizable contracts to 4 new midfielders. Now, we did obviously clear money off the books with Henderson, Milner, Firmino and Fabinho going, but nonetheless, we gave out sizable contracts, which means we also gave out sizable signing bonuses. And I would guarantee that the signing bonuses that we gave to the 4 guys we signed were significantly more than the combined signing bonuses given to all of these players at Burnley. Then factor in the agents. I guarantee that the agent fees we paid were significantly higher than the agent fees paid by Burnley. And I guarantee when the accounts come out for both years, we can look at both of them and we'll have paid significantly more than they will. The notion that they had a higher net spend than us is only if you look at the raw numbers of what was spent versus what was sold, not what you actually had to pay in that summer and not the additional costs of the transfer. For example, Man City fans love to tell you that City signed Erling Haaland for £51 million. And the thing about that is, on paper it's true. In reality, it's the furthest thing from the truth. Yes, they paid 51 to buy him out of his contract at Leipzig. So that's 51 million lumped in one go. But what about the agent fee, which was £30 million? What about the consultation fee for his father for having fully functioning testicles? That's £20 million. Then there's the signing bonus, which is a year's salary. And Erling Haaland's official salary is about 400 grand. But his actual salary, including his bonuses, according to Mike Keegan in the Daily Mail, who, by the way, is the journalist who broke the Erling Haaland to Man City transfer, his actual salary, including bonuses, which are very easy to meet, all he needs to do is play in most cases. He's on about 850 grand a week. So his signing bonus was likely somewhere between 20 and 40 million, but let's just say 20. Now that 51 million transfer isn't just a 51 million outlay in one summer. It's 20 million to the father, 30 million to the agent, and 20 million to the player, all up front. Because they're getting that money all up front. Some players will spread the signing bonus across the contract, but that's generally only with free transfers. But some will still demand it up front. But now that 51 million is 121 million. All of it up front, all of it in 1 year. Not forgetting the 5-year contract at 850 grand a week, which is another 200 million. So while City might say, oh, we signed him for 51 million, they made a commitment to that player of well in excess of £300 million over 5 years.
This episode is brought to you by our good friends at NFL Sunday Ticket on YouTube TV. I'm sure by now you've all gotten back into your Sunday routines, but they could be even better. With NFL Sunday Ticket and YouTube TV, you get the most live NFL games all in one place, every game, every Sunday. And you can even watch up to 4 different games at once with multi-view, one of my favorite inventions of this decade. It's exactly what you need to catch all the action. Make your Sundays more magical. And also, YouTube TV is great. I got it this year. It's awesome. Sign up now at youtube.com/BS. Device and content restrictions apply. Local and national games on YouTube TV. NFL Sunday Ticket for out-of-market games excludes digital-only games.
This podcast is sponsored by Ramp. Are you a business leader considering a new credit card and spend management system? You could stick with the old school process, multiple systems that work against each other and create more work for you. Or you could try Ramp. Ramp helps businesses manage their finance operations with a corporate card and spend management software that includes accounting automation, vendor payments, travel booking, and more, all in one platform. Whether you're a startup, a small business, or have thousands of employees, Ramp's intuitive software gives you maximum control over spend. Ramp's smart tools enforce compliance, prevent fraud, and provide real-time insights. Stop overspending and save up to 5%. Plus, Ramp automates data entry and routine time-consuming tasks. It's all done for you. You'll close your books in hours instead of days and give your team time to focus on what really matters, the bottom line. And now get $250 when you join Ramp for free. Just go to ramp.com/easy. Ramp.com/easy. RAMP.com/easy.
Cards issued by Sutton Bank and Celtic Bank, members FDIC. Terms and conditions apply.
I don't need a VPN. I've got nothing to hide. Ha. This is what I used to tell myself before I hooked up with LibertyShield.com. Not only is my home internet now fully encrypted, but I can now access all the websites I want, whenever I want, and do so from absolutely anywhere. As a Liverpool fan, I love to know I can now watch every match, regardless of whether it's on UK TV or not. My Liberty Shield VPN makes sure nothing is blocked and guarantees me super fast streaming speed throughout that match. You can get connected right now with their software package, which includes a 48-hour no-obligation free trial and instant access to their apps for Apple, Android, Fire TV, PC, Mac, and Android TV. Or go a step further like I have and get one of their pre-configured VPN routers. These small but powerful devices allow you to easily connect every device in your home to VPN, making it the perfect solution for smart TVs, Mac boxes, and games consoles. Visit LibertyShield.com today and use coupon code AIVPN25 to get 25% off at checkout.
The same thing happened with Bellingham, which is why we pulled away from moving for Bellingham. Yes, the fee was only 80 million, but there was 20 million to the agent, 20 million to the father for a consultant fee. There's also the 400 grand a week he earns at Real Madrid, the signing bonus, and any other bonuses involved. And when you start to add all of that up, that becomes a prohibitive deal that only a certain number of clubs, those owned by countries, and whether people like it or not, Real Madrid are owned by the Spanish government. They just are. PSG are owned by Qatar. City are owned, obviously, by Abu Dhabi. They're the only clubs that can really afford to do those type of deals. A cash cow like United, who've got ferocious amounts of debt, they will do it sometimes, but they're a stupid club. Todd Bowley is a buffoon, so you can see him doing some of that. But remember as well, when they tried to buy Enzo, they didn't pay his buyout, they paid over the buyout to bring it down. And Enzo, for £100 million footballer, wasn't coming in on the same type of wages that, for example, Declan Rice got at Arsenal. He didn't get the 300 grand a week Rice got. He got about half that. So even Chelsea, for all the money they're throwing around, they're not doing these enormous outlays in one summer. And like the Real outlay for Bellingham was spread across the 5 years, but you still would have had to pay a big chunk of the transfer fee. He might have spread his signing bonus, but his father certainly didn't, and the agent certainly didn't. So Real still would have paid in the region of 80 to 90 million just to go and get Bellingham and bring him in the door before they started paying him his wages and his signing bonus, and then the additional installments on the transfer fee. But it's not just as simple as saying, oh, well, they spent this much money, so therefore they spent more than us. That's not how transfers work. And to bring it back to where I started before I went in this ramble, it makes sense for us if we can get that Zubimendi deal from 51 million outlay now, plus an agent fee, plus a signing bonus. Don't think his dad is looking for any kind of money for having functioning testicles. If we can bring that from 51 plus those fees down to about 20 plus those fees, that leaves 30 million in cash. That 30 million could get us 2 more players in and around the similar type of fee, because again, we can work installments on deals. So for example, if we were to sign Hincapié for 45 million, perhaps we pay 12 million this summer, 12 next summer, 12 the summer after that, and 9 the summer after that. And that still leaves another chunk of money to go and get. Let's just say we want, I just saw someone mention his name today. So let's just say we wanted to go and do Eberechi Eze. Now he has a release clause. It's believed to be about £62 million, but it's a release clause that can be paid in installments by Champions League clubs, of which we are one. Now, I'd imagine they will probably want a chunk of money up front. I don't think it'll be as simple as paying 16, 16, 15 and 15 across 4 years. You might have to pay 25 and then the rest spread across the next 3 years. But that then becomes an easy to do deal by selling a Tyler Morton, a Fabio Carvalho. We're probably getting 6 to 7 million from Brentford this summer. We'll get the same for Morton. If we sell Nat Phillips, we probably get 2 million in this summer. And that makes up the difference. And now you can afford to go and get a player like Eberechi Eze, who actually, when you think of it, would fit perfectly in that left-sided role. Szoboszlai is the 10 behind Darwin, gives you pace, power, physical force. Eze gives you creativity, guile, balance. Mo gives you pace and goals. That'd be a hell of a front four. It'd be a hell of a front four. With Zubi and Alexis in behind them, and then a back four of, say Trent, Konate, Virgil and Hincapié. Anfield Fix on Twitter comes out with some of the maddest stuff you'll ever see anybody claim. Like when he said we should trial Costas as a right-sided midfielder. But the Eze shout's a really good one. And I saw one buffoon claim, Ole's always injured. In his entire career, he's had 2 injuries. Last season, he missed 5 games through injury. I know he did miss 11 Premier League games. They were also trying to manage his fitness and his health in the early part of the season. Because he played a ton to begin the season. He played like 90 minutes pretty much every game for the first 8 or 9. Then they gave him a break, came back in, played heavily again. Then they gave him a break in the lead up to Christmas, hoping that he'd be rested and ready for the Christmas period. They did a similar thing with Elise, and like with Elise, it didn't quite work because he picked up an injury. He missed 5 games. But other than that one hamstring injury last year, the only other injury he's had was when he tore his Achilles. Now, obviously that's a fairly horrendous injury, but with Eze, it doesn't really seem to have had a huge impact on him. I certainly wouldn't suggest he's had any drop-off. He's 26, which, is a little bit older than we have tended to sign under Edwards' watch. But Ginny was 26, I think. Zubimendi's only 8 months younger than him. So I don't see it being an issue if we wanted to go for him. I'm not saying we will, but when you look at games played, 17-18, he plays 39 games, 17 for QPR, 17 on loan at Wycombe, scores 7 goals. The next season he plays 46 games, scores 4 goals, and then it's 48 with 14 goals as last year at QPR. He joins Palace, plays 36 games, scores 4 times, first season in the Premier League. Then the next season he plays 17 games, only scores once, but that's the year he tears his Achilles. But in the last 2 seasons, he scored 10 and 40 and 11 and 31 last year. Like, he's really upping his goal scoring output. And he's obviously become a regular in the England squad. He's got 7 caps. He was part of the squad at the Euros, though didn't play enough because, I don't know, Gareth Southgate's a moron. But, like, Eze would make it a lot more sense for us than Anthony Gordon, for example. He's a significantly better player, but he's also not a winger and would suit the system a lot better playing off the left as that secondary 10 playmaker type. And he could actually be the primary playmaker in that attacking midfield line long term, because if Mo were to leave next summer, if you had Eze, you wouldn't necessarily need to replace Mo's creativity as well. You could focus more on replacing his goals. Still not easy. Still not easy at all, but if you had a creator like Eze and a creator like Trent and a creator like Alexis, and Dominic's got creativity to his game as well, you would be a lot less reliant on Mo and could just focus on the goal side of things. This is Anfield. 2 games in 7 hours. Liverpool versus Sevilla and Las Palmas. Double match preview. Obviously, we are playing 2 games in one day. An opportunity for, well, most, if not all of the squad to get some minutes under their belts, and Arne to get a good look at the players that have just come back. I'd imagine Virgil will play some, Trent will play some, Gomez will play some. We'll probably see a bit more of Ibu, obviously came back late, a bit more Gravenberch. And I think that's very, very positive. 7 things we've learned from pre-season so far. While Liverpool can bank 9.2 million from the Dominic Solanke transfer, there you go. That's going to be paid in a lump, I'd imagine. I'd imagine Bournemouth will pay us that in one lump to just get that taken care of. So that would make up the difference in if we wanted to buy Hincapié and Eze after Zubimendi. Yeah, so very positive. We've made a ton of money off Solanke, who I think did we pay 3 million for him? We sold him for 21, and now we make 9. So we got 30 million for Solanke off a 3 million investment. So 27 million profit overall there. We paid 5 million for Carvalho. We're getting an 18.5 million profit there, or 18 million profit there. That's a 45 million euro profit off 2 lads that came in, barely did anything for us, and we moved on quickly. More of that, please. More of that type of business, if you don't mind. There's growing rumours about a deal for Mamardashvili as well. So we'll see if anything comes from that. Joanna Durkin's put together 7 things from the transfer window. This was actually a few days ago, so Trev or Dave Davis might have already mentioned this, but Slot being big on tactical flexibility and fluidity. Still need that 6. Being patient, playing out from the back. Sander Berg has given himself a chance to stay, for sure. Slot is very hands-on, very much a coach. Physical approach to training, lots of variety and fun. Some niggles, but no new injuries. All very positive. Anything new from any of the websites? Let's check in with Dave O.C. Cup. Cade Gordon, close to agreeing a loan move to Swansea City. That's an exclusive from Dave. Just posted there now. I'm telling you. I call him Panda Dave, but it is from a place of affection. The guy gets some good information. And well worth checking the website out. Eddie Howe talked about Anthony Gordon and made it very clear he's going to be staying. How Martin Zubimendi to Liverpool could be structured. We'll have a quick look at that. Liverpool officially break global Premier League record. We'll have a quick look at that. There's a bit on the Carvalho deal. More and more reports coming out of Spain that Zubimendi wants to move. Let's see. So how the Martin Zubimendi deal might be structured. Oh, it's just that whether or not we'd pay it in one go or we would pay it in installments and potentially offer them a sell-on clause down the line. We've put a sell-on clause in the Carvalho deal, according to Paul Joyce. Let me just see what that is. 17.5 million. So similar enough to what we've done with Solanke. So if Carvalho does do really well there and eventually move on for 65 million, we would have another windfall coming down the road, which again, more of that type of business. This is how we should be operating all the time and how we would have been if, the inmates hadn't taken over the asylum. Liverpool officially break global Premier League record. So the club announced today that Nielsen data revealed that the Reds drew a staggering global audience of 471 million people across all 38 league games last season. It makes Liverpool the most watched Premier League team in the world. That is fairly spectacular. We are also the most engaged Premier League club with over 1.5 million fan engagements and 1.5 billion fan engagements and 11.9 billion social media views. The Reds became the first English Premier League club to reach the 10 million YouTube subscriber mark, earning themselves the diamond play button. And look at the crowds in the States, nearly 70,000 in Philadelphia for the game against Arsenal and 77,500 people in South Carolina to see the United game. No, obviously, United themselves are a big draw, but it's fair to say we were the one carrying the weight against a little club like Arsenal. Let that one sit there for a sec. Checking out Liverpool.com, seeing what they've got for us. We'll have a look at Anfield Watch as well. Why not? It's Saturday. I've got nothing better to do. I might as well just keep going. Someone will cut me off eventually. Yeah. Piece on Liverpool.com, piece on Carvalho, piece on Odegaard first. Oh, yeah, because if a player went on loan to Sociedad, I suppose. Arne Slot, piece on Solanke. 3 players Liverpool could sign regardless of whether Zubimendi deal is done. Let's have a look at this. Piece on Solanke and what we will get from that deal. Former Liverpool data guru reveals 2 big money signings were suggested by Jurgen Klopp. I'm going to guess it's Darwin and Cody Gakpo because they're the ones in this picture. We know that Cody Gakpo was pushed by Pep and Linders, as was Ryan Gravenberch. So I'd imagine that Cody is one, and everybody knows that Darwin was all Jurgen. The nerds wanted. Oh, no, it's Luis Diaz. All as well, Luis Diaz. So we can add him into the list. Oh, because, of course, Ian Graham was gone before Cody came in. So, yeah, Diaz and Darwin. Everybody kind of knew that anyway. I think Diaz was probably Linder's as well. I think Diaz was probably Linder's as well. Right, 3 players Liverpool could sign regardless of whether Martin's Zubimendi deal is done. Piero Hincapié, absolutely. Absolutely, we can get on board with that. Maxence Lacroix, yeah. If Seth leaves, I do think Lacroix makes a ton of sense. You could potentially set up a swap deal there because he's not going to sign a new deal with Wolfsburg. He wants to leave either this summer or on a free next summer. He's big, strong, quick, powerful, came to the same academy as Ibu, was at Solskjaer with Ibu. I would absolutely be on board with that. Real Cherki. I don't know. I mean, he's obviously really talented, but he has not come anywhere close to being the player he was expected to be when he started breaking into the Lyon team at 16. So I'm not really sure that that's a move that makes a ton of sense for us. Now, he is going cheap. I think the rumoured fee is less than 20 million. He is still young. He doesn't turn 21 until next week. But I don't know. Like, he flatters to deceive quite a bit. He hasn't become a consistent goal scorer. He scored 3 in 39 appearances last year, 5 in 39 the year before. Like, super talented. And maybe under Arne, maybe he becomes what he was made out to be when he broke through at 16. But I have doubts. It's not just him. There's something been funny with Lyon. Hassan Aouar was another one that when he broke through at 17, 18, looked like he was going to conquer the world. And then never became anywhere close to the player he was expected to be. And went to Roma last summer, I think on a free. So I'll check that. Did he go on a free? He did go on a free. And after 1 year with Roma, Roma sold him to Saudi for 10 million. He's 26 and he's already in Saudi. And then you look at Maxence Kakare, another player that when he came through at Lyon, like he looked genuinely like he was going to be the next Thiago. And instead he's become this, like he's good, but he's not anywhere close to the player that Twitter makes him out to be, for example. People on Twitter see a clip of him and he does the Thiago turn and they lose their mind. But there's a reason he's 24 and never been capped by the French national team. And like people say, oh, we could sign him as the 6. He's not a 6. He plays deep in midfield as a playmaker. Le Pellet is the DM at Lyon. He's good, but he'll end up being average because he's there at Lyon. They've signed Aurel Mangala, who's obviously another ball winner, and allows Kakare to play almost like Pirlo, where he's got 2 lads that'll go and do the dirty work and win the ball back for him, and then he can just sit and dictate. And he's a good player, but he's not close to what he was expected to be. It's a weird club. It's a very weird club. You had 3 massive talents come through in the last... Well, Kakare came through 2019. Cherki made his debut in 2019. And I want to say 2016 he made his debut. Yeah, 2016. So in 3 years, you had 3 elite prospects come through. And none of them came close to fulfilling their potential. Like that's a club issue. That's not just a player issue. So no, I pass on him for me. Anfield Watch, there's a piece on Carvalho, but it looks like it was written before the deal was agreed. Piece about Martin Zubimendi. Ex-Man City star makes bold prediction after Liverpool's 64 million investment is questioned. We'll come back to that. There's a piece about Jota, a piece about FSG and LeBron considering a bid for a new NBA team. They're almost certainly going to get the Vegas franchise when the NBA expands. Though FSG have been linked with the takeover of the Boston Celtics, but I think it's very, very unlikely that they do that. Michael Owen admits fear over Liverpool stars' future following summer speculation. I assume that's about Trent, but I won't be reading it because Michael Owen has shown himself to be a dreadful set of lads. 5 reasons why Liverpool transfer target Martin Zubimendi is exactly like Xabi Alonso. It's written by Ben Boxak. So let's have a quick gander. Liverpool are looking to wrap up a deal for Martin Zubimendi, who has 5 ways he has already emulated club legend Xabi Alonso. So he's not talking about him necessarily as a similar type of player, more about things that he's done in his career. So obviously he played under Xabi for the Real Sociedad B team. He made his debut exactly 20 years after Xabi. Led them to the Champions League, made his debut in the competition 20 years after Xabi made his debut in the competition. Xabi made the Spain squad in Euro 2004. Obviously, Zubimendi made it in 2024. They've also both now won European Championships. And yeah, so there we go. Oh, it will be 20 years since Xabi moved from Sociedad to Liverpool, so that will be the last one. Sergio Aguero tips Darwin Núñez to find form. Well, that's promising. Aguero knows a striker when he sees one. House speaks on Anthony Gordon future. No distractions. He's been really impressive in training. His focus has been his work and his fitness. Everything to do with this football club, nothing else. I'm confident he's okay. We've had no conversations over the summer where there's been fractious or negative. He's always been the Anthony Gordon who absolutely gave everything to Newcastle. He's such an important player to us. It does appear like the suggestions that his head was turned, that he was devastated and all this kind of stuff was just fictitious nonsense made up by people on social media. But, you know, that's not surprising because that's generally the way of social media, isn't it? There's AnfieldIndex.com. There is a piece about a report suggesting we could move for Lacroix. There's a piece about Fabio Carvalho, piece about Trent. Liverpool could... Let's have a look at this one. It's a piece based on some information from Phil Barter and Dave Davis. And then podcast-wise, there is the latest Minefield, the latest David Lynch podcast, my podcast with Jamie Kemp from the Lepolza Pod. And then, as we said yesterday, we've got a bunch of stuff to come this weekend. Now, what is this last piece? Liverpool could target... Oh, this is about Antonio Silva, the Benfica centre-back. He's got an enormous buyout, 85 million. But my understanding is that they took an awful lot less for João Neves and therefore may take an awful lot less for him. If we could get him in and around 50 million, that would be a deal worth doing for certain. That would be a really, really good deal if we could get Antonio Silva for in and around 50 million. Right, folks, I'm going to leave it there. There will be more, like I say, over the weekend. There's a scouted to come and a few other bits and bobs that'll be up. And I'll be back on Monday. Dave Davis will be here tomorrow. So take care of yourselves and enjoy your weekends. Bye-bye.
We hope you enjoyed listening to this Anfield Index show. Please be sure to subscribe to our channel so future podcasts find their way to your device automatically. There's nothing quite like fan engagement, and we'd love to know what you think of anything discussed on this show. The best way to get in touch is over on our free Discord community, where both podcasters and listeners debate the hottest LFC topics 24/7. Sign up free now at AnfieldIndex.com/Discord. You won't regret it. You can also follow us on Twitter at Anfield Index and find us on Facebook by searching for Anfield Index. Oh, and before you go, we'd love it if you could leave us a 5-star review on your favourite podcast app. It only takes a couple of seconds, and it means the world to the people who create these free shows.
Sports Social Podcast Network.